So look, let's you had the operation and you became a happy person. I hope. And just we want to talk about your career now, because just for anyone who, well, most people probably don't know, but Talisa and I just met recently on a movie that we were making down in Brighton called Decrypted, but we'll talk a bit more about that. But let's go back. So you've been to Sylvia Young, you've had your operation, then what?
And then I went a little bit crazy, as you do, because all of a sudden I was the person that I wanted to be, or at least as close to as the person that I wanted to be. So I had boyfriends and I was going out with my friends, going to the Hippodrome, Stringfellas. You know, I started doing modeling. I started really enjoying life, maybe a little bit too much, I would say. But I was making up. I was making up for lost time. So acting sort of stayed a little bit behind me. And I was just being the woman that I wanted to be, or at the time I was still very young, the girl that I wanted to be.
Yeah.
And I was enjoying that. So acting started the itch, because it's an itch. I mean, as an actor, you know, it's like an itch, isn't it? And you can put it down sometimes, but then it's there, isn't it?
I've always said to people when people have asked me, for example, saying, "Oh, my daughter really wants to get into acting. Do you have any advice?" And I say, well, you know, it's not enough to want to go into acting. You have to need to act.
Yeah.
And it is like, for me, my work is like my oxygen, and I can't live without it. If you told me that I had to live the rest of my life without acting, I think I might be suicidal. Like that's how powerful the itch is, right?
It is really, really powerful. And you know, I mean, for me, I know, because it was I fell in love. I mean, how I got into acting was because of my love for musical theatre. I loved all the musicals, and you know, the Gene Kelly and the Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers. I was obsessed with that. And except I couldn't sing, like I've told you guys before. So that was going to be a big no-no for me. Musical theatre was out the window for me, even though I'm still obsessed with it. My friends have just done me a birthday video, and they did a chorus line. So, you know, people know that I love all my musicals. I just can't sing, that's all. So that's how it started. And as I got older, as I went through my craziness, my crazy times, towards my late 20s, I was seeing a drama teacher, I was going to drama class. And he said to me, you know, because I really love Shakespeare. And I said, well, I like that sort of era. And the old classics. And I was really good at all my monologues and everything. And he said, you know what, you need to get back into it. You need to go into drama school. And I was like, okay. And I started applying for drama schools and auditioning for them. And I hit jackpot. I got into arts ed, and I went in to do my master's degree. And well, what can I say? It was the best time of my life. There's no two ways about it. It was just incredible to be doing something you love to do.
Yeah.
And you know, be around all the people that love exactly what you do. So yeah, it was amazing. And then of course my career started after that. You know, landing a job with Silent Witness. That was my first. I think that was do you know what? I can't remember. I should have looked it up. But I think the first job I had was coming out of drama school. Actually, it was an advert. I've just thought, George Foreman grill advert. I'll never forget. And now I won't. You know why? Because it was on every single channel. I don't even know if I should have said that.
It was so popular. I remember, but I don't remember you. All I remember is that the George Foreman grills were being advertised all the time.
Well, I'll tell you which one it was. It was the one that they had everyone, where he says at the end, everyone around the world, they all use my George Foreman. It was like all different women, housewives around the world. And I did the Spanish housewife. So I had to sort of, be there with my George Foreman grill, and my husband was behind me in the kitchen, and I was like, yo hago con la parrilla de George. You know, and that's what, but I remember because all my friends would ring me up and say, oh my God, it's on like 10 times a day. It was on every channel. So that was my first gig, like professional gig. And it was filmed in like no time. I had to go to Manchester to do that. And yeah, and then it went from there, and I got Silent Witness, Doctors, and then it just carried on. I did about 30 short films. Just to get the experience. I think for me it was more about getting as much experience as I possibly could. Yeah, so, and then I'm here.
Wow. Well, where should we go next, Wanda? What should we talk about?
Well, what was your breakout role?
My breakout role was, well, definitely Baptiste.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, I remember auditioning. Well, my agent had rung me up and said, I want to send you these scripts. So they sent me episode 1 and 2. And have a read, tell me what you think, and, just they would like to see you for this character of Kim. So I read the scripts, and of course, I mean, I knew it was the Williams brothers, and I was obsessed with their programs anyway. I mean, they do so many programs. So I'd watched The Missing, and I binge watched that a long time before I got the audition. And of course, they've got Liar, they've got Widow. I mean, they've got so many programs. So I knew who they were, and yeah. So I learned actually the whole of episode 1 before I ever auditioned. I was that keen on getting it.
Yeah.
This for me was not gonna just slip through my hands. It was, I was gonna fight tooth and nail for this part. I didn't get, and I knew that I knew later that they'd seen transsexuals around Europe because she was supposed to be Romanian, and so they were looking at other transsexuals around. But I was gonna fight it. I was just gonna scrap for this part, and I did.
Yeah.
How was it to play it? I saw a scene where you tell, I think your lover in the film, that you are transsexual, transgender, and then he doesn't know. How was that scene to do? Because it reflects a lot of your own life, I think, I guess.
Yes, it did. I mean, that was an amazing scene. Tristan Gravel, who plays my boyfriend, and I got on so well, and he's a fellow Welshman, so I mean, we just got on like a house on fire. He's amazing. And Sophia, you've worked in the same program as him, Discovery of Witches.
That's right.
So, yeah, so we got on very, very well. That was the only day that we didn't really speak too much when we were filming. We basically were very, very quiet. Normally every day we were messing about, we were joking, we were laughing. It was just brilliant. That particular day, we knew it was a really like stressful scene, and he stayed in one, I stayed in the other play. Like we just separated, and then we just went into it. And it was, I've gone through that situation in my life where I've had to tell a boyfriend, and it's really, really difficult. It's so difficult because I mean, first of all, you know what your boyfriend or the man that you're seeing is like. You know how tolerant they might be about something like this. And I tend to choose men that maybe are not as tolerant. I don't know what that's about, but I just, so I've gone through that, and you tell them, and the shock in their face, the shock of horror, really. And the first thing they sort of start saying, one of the first things that a few guys have said to me, but I'm not gay. You can't be. I would know, and so then they start having a problem with that, but it's sort of their problem about, and I would say it's an insecurity as well. And I always say to them, I don't, if you were gay, we wouldn't be together anyway. So, because you would be with a man. So I understand that, but this is my life, and I need you to know. And it is very difficult. A lot of people do or can react the way the character, Tristan's character, Greg, his character's name, reacted in Baptiste. So that does happen, and it's very close to home, and it has happened to me a couple of times. But, you know, you sort of cope with it, and it is heartbreaking because it's basically they love you, they're in love with you, they fancy you, but they don't accept you, which is the worst.
Talisa, do you tell people, so this is very, you don't have to answer this, but do you tell men before you're intimate with them, or do you tell them afterwards, or only if they ask, or what? I mean, because it's no one's business really who you are, but do you feel compelled to tell them sort of before? Do you feel like in some way you should, or I mean, I don't think you should, but
well, I mean, there's a big sort of debate on this, really, isn't it? Some people think you should, some, you know, everybody's different. I've got to be honest with you, after I had my sex change, nobody ever asked me, you know.
You would never know. You would never know. I mean, I knew before I met you because our director had told me.
Yeah.
Because you play a transsexual character in our film, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But you know, I would never know, and I don't in any way think of you. To me, you're I don't even care if you're an ostrich. You're
whatever.
You know, that's irrelevant, really.
Yeah.
You know, and people's sexual preferences, whatever they choose to do behind closed doors, like it's no one's business. Like, who cares, you know? But shall we talk a little bit about Decrypted then?
Yes, go for it.
Wondered. Do you have any questions for us? Because I can join in a bit now.
Well, what is Decrypted about? Can you tell us what it is about?
Yeah. So in a nutshell, it's about two American NSA agents, and the NSA is, for anyone that doesn't know what that is, it's, if you're British, it's like the equivalent to the British MI5, so undercover agents, Secret Service people. Myself and a wonderful actor called David Hofflin. So we've come to London to try and track down the man who invented Bitcoin, and simultaneously there's a crew of British undercover people that are spying on us. But Talisa, you explain now how your character fits in with all of this.
I mean, without giving too much away, because whenever you do interviews about films or programs that you've done or you're doing, it's really difficult to talk too much without giving things away, because then it sort of spoils it for people when they do watch it. But my character is sort of in the middle of it all. And she's from Colombia, and she has a very thick accent, you know. So she talks like this, you know, and she's very coquette, you know. She's a papi, you know. So we laughed so much, didn't we, Sophia? We could not stop laughing.
You should see, because she was so good, and the script is a dark comedy, so it's really, really, really funny. And obviously, I love dark comedy. It's my favorite. And, you know, watching Talisa and the other actors being so brilliant, I would forget sometimes that I was in the movie, and I just start laughing like I was in the audience. You know, it was terrible. And there was one scene in particular, it won't really make any sense to people watching this, but Talisa had to make a phone call to her sort of your pimp or your whoever, because she's...
No, it's not my pimp. It was my boyfriend. He was my...
Let's get this, girl. You are like a bit of a prostitute. Come on.
Well, yeah, but you know what? It's really, really funny, because in the script, it actually, throughout the script, it never says anything about prostitution. I think you're made to believe that, but if you really, really look, when we watch it, she's actually quite clever. I mean, what she's doing, because I don't want to give it away, because if I say what I'm going to say, I'll have to give the whole plot away.
No.
You know, she's very clever in what she's doing. And prostitution, actually, because I had to ask the director and the writer, because originally I was going to play her as this Latino prostitute, you know, and I was ready for it. And they said to me, what makes you think that she's a prostitute? And I was like, oh, I don't know. I was like, and they were like, does it say anywhere that she's a prostitute? And I was like, no, it doesn't. And I had read the script 20 times. So, and I was like, no, it doesn't actually. And they were like, so what makes you think she is? And that's when I sort of, the penny dropped and I thought, oh, okay. So there was a different way that you could play her. It wasn't the typical sort of Latino transsexual prostitute. And I was like, you know, and that really helped me with the character anyway, because now when I was acting her, I had something else completely different behind when I was delivering the lines, you know, so it's great.
Yeah.